The volunteer's name was Thomas Crane, and he'd been a Resonant for 23 years. Used to be a decent weaver, he said, settling into the chair across from Kael in the sterile white testing chamber. His weathered hands showed the telltale scars of someone who'd spent decades manipulating molecular bonds, fine lines where experiments had gone wrong, calluses from handling raw materials. Not top tier, mind you, but good enough to keep the walls standing and the pipes flowing. He was maybe 50, gray-haired and steady. The kind of man who'd raised 3 kids and buried a wife and found peace in small, useful things. Retirement papers sat on the table beside him, already signed. "I don't want to do this," Kael said. "I know." Crane's voice carried the patience of someone who'd explained difficult things to frightened children. "But you need practice, and I need to know my abilities won't die with me." Behind the observation glass, Director Hallam watched with clinical fascination. Dr. Vance monitored her equipment arrays, tracking every biometric spike and resonance fluctuation. Okafor stood rigid near the door, his prosthetic hand clenched so tight the servos whined. "The theory is sound," Crane continued, rolling up his sleeves to expose his forearms. "If you can learn control, precise extraction rather than wholesale draining, maybe my grandchildren will still have a grandfather who can fix their broken toys." Willing subject detected, the frequency observed with something approaching satisfaction. Optimal conditions for refinement. Proceed with extraction. Kael's hunger meter sat at 73%. Not critical, but high enough that his hands trembled with anticipation. The stolen abilities writhed beneath his skin, eager for more power to digest and integrate. What if it doesn't work? What if I take everything anyway? Then I'll die knowing I tried to help rather than running away. Crane extended his right hand across the small table. Sometimes that's all the choice we get. The words hit harder than they should have. This man was volunteering to be diminished, possibly destroyed, for a chance at teaching Kael restraint. It was the kind of selfless courage that made heroes in the core training vids. It also made Kael feel like a monster. He reached out slowly, his fingertips hovering inches from Crane's weathered palm. The fragment's hunger spiked, sending cascades of statistical analysis across his vision. Target acquired. Optimal extraction vectors calculated. Drain efficiency projections scrolled past like a menu of destruction. Focus on the sensation, Dr. Vance instructed through the intercom. Don't fight the drain, guide it. Think of it as precision surgery rather than battlefield amputation. Kael's fingers made contact. The connection blazed to life immediately, but this time he tried to modulate the flow. Instead of letting the fragment tear away everything it could reach, he attempted to create a controlled leak, a careful siphoning rather than explosive decompression. Crane's weaver abilities flowed into him like warm honey. Molecular manipulation protocols integrated with his existing power matrix. Understanding of atomic bonds and structural engineering settled into his consciousness like inherited memories. But he could feel what it cost. Thomas Crane had been able to reshape steel with his bare hands. Could coax concrete to flow like water, then harden it into architectural impossibilities. 23 years of accumulated skill and instinct, built through practice and sacrifice and stubborn determination. Now that power dimmed like a candle running out of wax. The bright flame of his abilities guttered, contracted, reduced to something smaller and weaker. "Stop," Kael whispered, trying to break the connection. "Keep going," Crane said through gritted teeth. His face had gone pale, but his voice remained steady. "Take what you need. Leave me enough to teach my granddaughter how to fix her bicycle chain." Extraction 92% complete, the frequency reported with mechanical precision. Subject retention, 8%. Acceptable parameters. Kael yanked his hand back as if the contact burned. Crane sagged in his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 50 years plus a few more. The vitality that had radiated from him, the quiet confidence of someone comfortable with their abilities, had been replaced by something hollow. He flexed his fingers experimentally, and Kael watched him discover what remained of his powers. Almost nothing. How do you feel? Dr. Vance asked, her clinical detachment not quite hiding genuine concern. Crane managed a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Like I used to. Before I manifested. Just, ordinary again. He stood carefully, testing his balance. Don't look like that, son. I knew what I was signing up for. The smile widened, became more convincing. Besides, think of all the sleep I'll get now that I'm not worried about accidentally restructuring my bedroom walls. But Kael saw through the performance. Saw the way Crane's shoulders had curved inward slightly. The subtle tremor in his left hand. The flatness behind his eyes where confidence used to live. He'd taken a master craftsman and reduced him to someone who might struggle to thread a needle. Resonance increased 246, the frequency announced cheerfully. Bandwidth expanded to 2 concurrent operations. Fine motor control significantly improved. Dr. Vance was already reviewing the data streams, her excitement barely contained. Remarkable precision. The extraction was nearly surgical in its accuracy. With more practice. She stopped mid-sentence, her face going white as she stared at her primary monitor. The display showed Kael's corruption index. The noise floor metric that had remained stable at 1 since his first drain. Now it read 3. Integration accelerating, the frequency whispered with satisfaction. Harmonization proceeds on schedule. Dr. Vance looked up at Director Hallam in the observation booth, her expression a mix of fascination and growing horror. Ma'am, she said carefully, the fragment isn't just giving him abilities. It's rewriting his neural pathways. Each drain creates permanent changes to his brain chemistry. Hallam leaned forward, her pale eyes glittering. How permanent? I'm not sure he's still entirely human.